Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Can you hear me? Check 1, 2.
Welcome to our viewers at home. You're at the second round of the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour here in beautiful Mollymook. This is the first game of the main draw. And we've got in the commentary box, guest commentator Lewis Jupp. Lewis, welcome.
Thanks for having me on. So yeah, it should be a really good game to start off with. We have Twine and Marcelo Haag, who have come off really good qualifying performances to make their way into this draw and earn themselves a chance to compete against our past and present Australian players.
Lewis, what do you think we're expecting in this game from the two boys in the green?
Well, Marcelo and Chris have come off some really good performances in the New South Wales Tour, playing really well at the AAA level against the likes of McHugh, who had some promising performances in Cobram as well. However, this is obviously a step up for them, first time competing in this Div 1 tournament. So I think it'll be a matter of whether or not they're able to keep their heads cool and perform.
Yeah, did you get to see any of their games during the qualification tournament today?
I was actually lucky enough to get down to watch them play against Aloe Gibbons and Matt Kalidas as they battled for this spot, or a spot at least to play the quarterfinal to move through. And it was actually a really promising game from them, really consistent, a lot of hustle in this team.
And of course, on the other side, we have Chris McHugh and Paul Burnett. What do you think we're going to expect from these guys being the first game of this weekend?
Well, these boys, of course, are our top-seeded Australian team, coming off a win in Cobram. Really good form towards the end of the tournament there, playing great in the gold medal match, cruising to almost an easy victory, some might say. So I think they're going to come out, give it their all off the bat, and hopefully start this competition off with a win.
Yeah, they had a bit of a shaky start in the Cobram, that first round of the main draw. What do you think got them through in Cobram?
Well, the boys just started taking the ball a bit higher, swinging deep, playing more, I guess you'd say, comfortable in their game, and they just found their rhythm, and once they both start hitting at their peaks and hit high long, they're almost untouchable on the block as well.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You've got two guys who can block and defend pretty well in both Chris and Paul.
Absolutely. When both of them are that large, they're really a dangerous combination.
So if you were on the other side in the light green, what would be your strategy to hit against the big man at the front at the moment with Chris McHugh blocking you?
To be honest, I just basically almost put everything I got in each swing. Like, it's important against sort of big blockers to not really back down, try not to convert towards that sort of, not necessarily weaker gameplay, but if you're trying to look too much towards shots, you know, they're still quite high blockers you're going to find in order to get over them and make those nice shots. You're going to give defenders like Paul Burnett a lot of time to get round. So for me personally, I'd end up just swinging the guts out of every ball, try and really put it down, make it difficult to defend.
Yeah, it is important to go to be aggressive against these guys, right? You can't show any weakness when you're going against such aggressive players.
Absolutely, and especially at this Div 1 level, like every team's got those players that can absolutely destroy a ball, and you know some teams have both of them capable of hitting a really powerful ball. And even when you look at towards the top level, it's everyone able to hit powerful balls. So all that is like no one backs down, and it comes down to a side-out game. And when everyone can hit the ball hard, shots aren't used as much, and so it's all about who's consistent enough to get those defensive points up, who can really. Beautiful
look at
defensive
that
play. Yeah, beautiful transition play there by Marcelo. Nice defensive maneuver there, picking up the spike. Nice conversion, transition, line roll onto the tape.
Yeah, it's not often that you would pull off the net against big Chris McHugh, but they were able to pull off the net, play a double defense, and Marcelo's in a great spot to pick up the dig.
We're seeing a signature jump set there from Chris McHugh, used greatly last year and in his previous tournaments with Damien Schumann. Loves that jump set, really taking the blocker with him 90% of the time as he is such a dangerous on-two hitter.
Do you think he's more dangerous now with that moustache?
Absolutely. I've heard that adds 10% to your vertical and about 20% to power.
It's definitely an intimidating look. Poor Burnett, so much height above that net. He probably pretty much didn't give any respect to that block, did he?
Absolutely none whatsoever in that regards. When you're able to play the ball at that height, you really have, I guess you'd say, the blessing of being able to really use a full arsenal of attack.
So, Lewis, are you playing this weekend?
I will be playing, but I'll be playing in the Challenger draw, not the Elite. We unfortunately missed out in the quarterfinals to a solid team who are currently playing on one of the other courts, I believe.
Marcelo's a very crafty player, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He does that a lot in the New South tournaments as well. He has a lot of really nice plays where he's shooting around the ball, great shots. He's got a very nice volleyball IQ. He's got a lot of experience playing, so he really knows, when to use certain shots, how to use the wind, and hopefully, 9-6 down to start with, but it's starting to work out for him. They're really playing some crafty stuff now, and hopefully he can win a few more points, make this game even tighter.
There we see the on-2 play, signature move by a lot of the Australian representative players. What's your thoughts on this whole concept of playing the second ball?
I think it's a really good idea. It just really opens up your ability to attack the ball, and especially when you have quality players such as these two gentlemen on the Australian team that are able to both jump set that ball really cleanly. It means you're extremely dangerous on all levels. Current junior world champs, the Swedish team, does the same thing at the moment. They're jump setting almost every ball, which makes them very, very difficult to defend against, because every time they jump in the air, you don't know whether or not they're going to hit it or whether or not they're pushing it outside. Some of them are even jump setting the ball over, so they've got it's just adding another layer of attack. Overpass there, no block. In that sort of situation, Chris McHugh does not take any prisoners.
It's interesting to watch Chris play in these first-round matches. Usually they're the top seeds. They play the number 16 seeds, and they never give them anything, do they? They just go hard all the time.
Absolutely. It's very rare you see teams come in and basically play it easy, because they don't really have, I guess you'd say, the chance or the luck or even the fortune to be able to lose early points or early sets. They really want to try and take everything early, especially when they're coming into conditions where it's not quite sunny. It's a bit of overcast, which isn't too bad. Vision's great, but they're coming into some semi-fast wind, which means they've really got to try and find their top gear straight away. Compared to Chris and Marcelo, who've had the qualifying tournaments, they've had games to get used to the sand and the wind, and they're almost completely warm, ready to play now.
Once again, you see that on-2 ball by Paul Burnett. What do you do? Do you go and try to block the on-2, or just focus on the big man on the right side?
I think it really depends on your team dynamic as well as theirs. Like whether or not you believe that if they're a large enough threat and you're assuming every time they hit, they have a very powerful on-2 attack. And if we're struggling to pick it up in defense, we definitely try and get our defenders up more often than not.
Cool. So we go into the first technical timeout at 14-7 to Chris and Paul. I think we're head to a commercial break, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's important now for Chris and Marcelo to reset and come out with that mindset of still trying to attack the ball, staying aggressive, because it's very, very easy to come out almost with a defeated look at that sort of scoreline. One look at the scoreboard and you're thinking you might be out of it, but it's really important. We've seen teams chase larger margins than this, and it's a really good feeling when you're able to fire up and take back those points. So really important to see them come out with that attacking mindset. Although, again, on the other side, I think Chris and Paul are going to come out at same gear, top speed. They're not going to take their foot off the gas till they've won this game.
So it looks like the weather is starting to get a little bit tricky. You being a volleyball coach yourself with some juniors, what's your advice to kids when they're playing in this type of weather? It looks like the wind's going a little bit cross-court, a bit cloudy, a bit cold. What's the advice you give the kids when they come out and see that beach volleyball isn't always sunshine?
Absolutely. With this sort of weather, especially on that wind blowing almost diagonally across the court, my advice, especially on the bad, or I guess you could say the good end, where you've got the wind blowing in your face, is just to be as aggressive as possible with the ball. Like, you've got the benefit.
Like that?
Yeah, pretty much. You've got that benefit of I guess you say forgiveness in the errors, because as you shoot the ball or as you hit it as hard as you can, the wind's going to drop it down a bit. So especially on serve, like a lot of juniors I've had the pleasure of coaching and even playing alongside. First thing I always say is you just go for your hits. Like, absolutely, if you make a few errors, it doesn't matter, but really go hard early, start working out where your kinks are, start working out, find your rhythm, that sort of stuff straight away.
Yeah, it's interesting you're talking a lot about, being aggressive for our juniors to be aggressive. I think there's been a shift in the last, I reckon, like 5-10 years in that coaching mentality. We've had a lot of kids start out with just lots of ball control, just putting the ball over the net. But it seems that, as our athletes are getting stronger, bigger, taller, the power game is definitely the priority.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of the, as you say, the genetics of the Australian volleyballers over the past few years has really improved. A lot of the new kids coming in are tall already. Some of them are, just 15 years old and already well over 2 meters, large verticals as well. So really great to see that for our sport and hopefully for the future of the country in the sport. That is, of course, one way to get around a big blocker such as McHugh, going straight through the uprights, playing off the inside of his arms. Chris McHugh has that lovely block where he goes up, opens his arms wide, and is really strong over the net, making him very dangerous to hit against. But again, same thing. He's aggressive with his, Marcelo stays aggressive with the hit, is able to play off the inside of his arm there.
Yeah, I'm not sure the viewers at home could see the angle that Marcelo hit at. So he wasn't trying to hit the ball downwards. It was, crossing the net nice and high and flat, but really good, top spin on his hands. Makes the ball touch the hands of the block and then, still come in and get the kill.
Absolutely, and especially, there you go. That's the other area you try and play. Sometimes you try and play that almost a cheeky little poke ball over the block, and often you can find this is quite effective, but with an experienced blocker like McHugh at the net, it's always a very tough thing to get away with, especially at the height he can take a ball, and makes it very difficult to get over him.
We've had beautiful conditions all day for the qualifiers. And as soon as we hit main draw, the winds come in, possibly a bit of rain. But it makes it an interesting game, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I find like when you get those really heavy wind days, it really allows a lot of teams to shine, especially some of the teams that, I guess you'd say, like height is always a factor talked about in volleyball, but you find in beach volleyball, height becomes slightly less important. It becomes more about the skill, your ability to play the ball and use, I guess you'd say, the IQ of the volleyball game. And when the wind's as heavy it is today, it's not just the fact that it's wind, it's not consistent at the moment, which is where a lot of change-ups happen. It's quite gusty. It comes through in big waves, so knowing how to play in those sort of conditions, often you'll see many upsets, especially at things such as the Junior National Tour, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you can see by the flags right now, they're almost still, right? 10 seconds ago, they're blowing really hard across. Players need to do a lot of adjustments in these conditions.
Absolutely. So one tactic a lot of players use is lowering the height they play the ball. Obviously, because if the ball's in the air for less time, it means the wind can affect it a lot less. And sometimes, it rolls around, players just holding their approach that little bit longer, just in case the wind moves the ball last second, you're able to still get your full approach and spike off.
Scores 19-11, it looks like. Just a bit hard to see it in the commentary booth at the moment, but 19-11, Chris and Paul.
Again, some first game errors coming out of them as well with some simple service errors, but again, we saw them in Cobram last tournament on the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour, and we found that, again, same thing, a few shaky moments, but overall, like, towards the end, they found another gear, found another level, and started showing us why they beat one of the world #1s, Qatar, at the time.
And that on-2 ball, right? Chris McHugh, no one there with him. What do you do, right? Because, he jumps up, he could set it, he could hit it. How do you make a decision on something like that?
It's always really hard in that sort of regard, especially when he takes it at the height he does. And, the off-putting moustache in front of you, really difficult, takes your eyes off, makes you unable to think a little bit. But absolutely, when a player's that big over the net, you've really got to just try your best to take some of the court away from them.
Once again, we see Marcelo's control. A little dinky shot, seeing that Chris's hands were wide, he went wide as well, just off the little fingertips, and yeah, gets the point.
Absolutely.
Saves the match point, or set point, sorry. 13-20.
Foot fault was called there on Marcelo. I was wondering there why Chris McHugh didn't jump and attack that second ball standing roll, but that will bring up the end of set 1.
21-13. We'll go to a quick break. Stay tuned, everyone. This is Australian Beach Volleyball Tour, second round here in Mollymook. We're here in the beautiful beaches of Shoalhaven, here in Mollymook. What a great place to be for beach volleyball in Australia. So many great beaches around, but this has got to be one of the best. Lewis, what do you think of the beaches here?
Absolutely. Beaches around this coast are absolutely phenomenal. Like, great sand. Often there's a lot of beaches we've played on that either have a lot of silts and have a bit of dust that kick up, but this beach here is definitely one of my favourites to play on. Sand's nice and soft and really allows a lot of movement around the court. And although it is tough, obviously, to jump out of the deeper sand you can find here, a bit tougher than you might find from the beach in Cobram. Cobram's a bit more solid, making it easier to jump.
And what about the surf? Are you a surfer?
Unfortunately not. No, I learnt to surf a little bit, but I've sort of forgotten everything as time's gone on. I can definitely pretend to stand on a board for about half a second before I face plant into the wave.
Mollymook also has some great golf courses as well. I've definitely tried a few. What about you, Lewis? Are you a golfer?
I have played a couple of rounds before. I'm not, unfortunately, any good, I'll say, but I can attempt to make contact with the ball.
Yeah, let's say my golf game is about as good as my beach volleyball game, which is actually pretty average.
One all start of the second set. Promising
All right,
start
so what do
boys
you
in green.
think the boys in the green would have said during the timeout?
Not too sure, to be honest. In terms of my best guess would be something along the lines of just trying to, I guess you'd say, increase the consistency of their play, like play a bit more within themselves. It's very easy against teams that play certain game styles to try and play and match their tempo. So you play against teams that play fast sets. You yourself try to play that sort of volleyball. But sometimes all you need to do is almost take a breath, reset, and play your style, force them to come to you, so to speak.
Yeah, that's some really good advice there. Like I think when things are going wrong, it's best to work on what you know that you can control, right? So these guys are, well, okay, what do you think their strengths are? The guys in green.
Absolutely. So you have Marcelo, who has phenomenal strength in being able to maneuver the ball on his attack, so some really nice cut shots, but also still has the ability to let his arm go late, which is one thing I find quite impressive about him, is he can let his arm go late, put a lot of speed on the ball, so get away a really strong hit, but he can also stop his arm mid-swing and then cut it, which makes him really threatening. And you've seen a few tools off the big block of Chris McHugh for that exact reason.
And what about his partner?
Chris Twine comes out of the indoor teams as well. He started off in indoor as a middle. He's played a lot more beach in the past few seasons and has improved leaps and bounds, moving his way up the rankings, becoming one of the top players in the state. He's definitely a big swinger, so he loves to jump up, use that height he has in indoor, have a great swing. I think Chris McHugh may be the largest block he's had to play against, as we see right there. Chris
Well,
McHugh,
good timing.
Absolutely. Chris McHugh building a roof over the top of Chris Twine.
So with such a big block in front of you, and these guys are pretty, they're slightly disadvantaged in their height. We're seeing maybe the sets. Do you think they're a little bit tight?
Maybe a little bit towards, it's hard to tell from this sort of angle, but I think we're finding, especially with some of the timings of the jump and the hit, and I guess you could say that the time it takes for that ball to reach the block, maybe a little bit tight. Maybe they might benefit from pulling it off a little bit and attempting to play with a bit more space, allowing them to shoot the ball a bit better, or maybe even have a proper swing with less fear of reaching Chris McHugh.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to give some real insight onto that. Like, I think, yes, Chris Twine is used to playing as a pretty big player, but he's now playing against one of the biggest. And he'd probably be used to, having been comfortable with the ball pretty tight and then having a good swing at it.
Absolutely, yeah. His confidence has come up in the past season, and he's starting to really put some power behind his swings, which means often when these two play in games, he finds himself not having to hit that much because he doesn't really get served due to the fact he's starting to really increase the power he hits the ball with. And more importantly, he's less shaky. By that, I mean he used to have a similar thing that a lot of juniors have, where if they get blocked once or twice, they step down a bit, almost back down from their hit and start trying to go to shooting. The best advice I can give is just don't stop swinging. Like, always try and keep your confidence high, keep your aggression high, because as soon as you back down from your hitting and go to just shots, you become very easy to defend.
Yeah, as you can see right now, it seems like Paul and Chris McHugh over there are targeting Chris Twine. He's probably received the last 3 or 4 serves. Let's see what he does with this one.
Absolutely. I see the switch up here, especially with the jump serves in this wind. It's really tough to pass. A few lasers down the middle. But again, lovely transition set out there. Marcelo just unable to find Chris McHugh's hands. But you see, again, similar situation. He hits that high at the top of his hands, that line ball, just missing the outside. So again, he's still using that IQ to really try and play off the hands rather than necessarily trying to beat them.
Yeah. He's pretty dangerous, Marcelo, with crafty little cut shots here and there. Yes, there's a big block. It's really great to see him work off the block. It seems like he has a lot of vision, doesn't he?
Absolutely, and you see, like, all you have to do is watch those 2 points back to back, and you see 1 point he rolls that shot a little bit wide, but then is able to change up, make that fix, and basically correct that, drop it in. Really nice shot, really difficult to dig. However, it is answered again by the signature jump set from Chris McHugh, giving Paul Burnett a lovely swing cross court.
All right, Lewis, if we were on the court, me and you against Chris and Paul, and we have a timeout, what are you going to say to me? What are we going to do? Knowing that I would probably more be like Marcelo and you probably like Chris.
Absolutely. Oh, that's a really good question. I think, to be honest, I just talk about, again, that whole aggression on serving. Like, if we're going to try and fight these guys that we can't put in easy serves, we can't just serve to not make the error. We have to really put them under the pump, because the second we back down from our serve and make life easy for them, they're definitely not going to return the favor.
And what do you reckon our blocking strategy would have to be against them with this jump serve at the moment? Or jump set, sorry.
Well, with this one, personally, I would almost have to commit to the jump set. I would rely on hopefully being able to guess sometimes whether or not he is going to set or hit. I think most of the time I'd almost offer a smaller jump, similar to a middle when he's worried about a setter tipping.
Yep.
He does that little toe jump in indoor, similar sort of thing. I might do a little jump just in case to try and take some court.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if they go for the 2 ball, it's very difficult, again, at the height they take it, for me to try and get an effective block up.
Yeah.
Great switch-up tactic there. So normally you try and pass more towards the center of the court, or maybe even more slightly in front of you. Nice pass there by Paul to push almost all the way to Chris McHugh's antenna, allowing Chris no block on a 2 ball, and you can see what happened next.
There you go, that craftiness of Marcelo. Nice and high this time, deep into the opposite corner. Gets him the point with 8-11.
Absolutely, a beautiful jumbo rainbow roll shot over the top. Much to the delight of a lot of the people watching. So we have a few people up on the hill there, really enjoying the day. Most, I think, have gone home due to the wind and the sun disappearing. But a lot of the players in the tournament standing around watching this one around the court. A lot of them clapping and applauding that shot.
And we'll go to the first technical with Chris and Paul leading 13 points to 8. Yeah. For those watching at home, you can see there's the Manly Junior Beach Volleyball Tours coming up pretty soon. Make sure you get your entries in. That's on the 1st to the 3rd of March. So that's a Tuesday through to Thursday. Hope to see you guys there. Shows what you guys have got.
I'll return the favour here with a similar question. Your years of coaching, your years of experience playing as well. What would you be thinking right now if you were Chris and Marcelo coming out 13-8 in this set?
Well, I think I'd try to take away the guesswork that we're doing. I think, well, while we're blocking at the moment, while Chris is blocking, he's deciding, you know, should I block on the second? Should I go on the third hit? And he seems a little bit confused which one he wants to commit to. And maybe just keep it simple and go, hey, we will block the second ball, right? If it happens and they set the ball outside, I need to work a little bit harder, or the defender needs. But, yeah, just being a little bit more certain on what the strategy might be, especially with Marcelo being quite a good defensive player, that it might be okay to, you know, let's just take out one really good block, right? And if it goes the other way, let's go one-on-one with the defense, you know, take away with their best swing. You know, it looks like every time they go on that third ball, it goes the line, right? So maybe that's the thing we stick to. Keep it simple.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Definitely just deciding one option and just basically throwing all your eggs just in that basket just to really shut down that option and just accept that if it goes to the other one, it might be a point to them.
Yeah, we talk a little bit with our juniors what to do when they come against a team that likes to hit on two a lot. And one of the things we talked about was maybe serving, you know, straight down the middle, because generally when these guys play on two, they want to put the ball going across the court. So if you serve tough through the middle, it's harder for them to get that ball cross court for that jump set / set the ball wide again. So that's one strategy that you may consider. You know, how aggressive can you serve right down the middle so they don't create those angles?
Absolutely, especially for, well, it depends obviously if you're right or left-handed, but some of the right-handers that come in from the right side might have trouble getting around a ball that comes through the middle. They have to cover more ground in order to get it onto their shoulder and get an effective hit off. Again, Paul Burnett there playing comfortably at his height, playing off the top of Chris Twine's hands.
Once again, that wind really picking up, making it pretty difficult for these guys to play. That ball just going long. We're at 18-9.
This is what we see. So there's a few errors from the boys here in the green, but also, again, same thing with Chris and Paul, just never taking away or never backing down from trying to take as many points as possible. And they went into the tech timeout 13-8, and now they're up 18-9. So it just shows you again, they're never going to let teams have points. They're going to make you earn every single one.
There you go. How good was that?
Beautiful cut shot back across. Really nice job there from Marcelo.
Yeah, I like that he shows that, you know, there's many options to getting that ball in the sand, right? Many ways to skin a cat. You don't always have to hit the ball hard. If you got a couple of, you know, shots up your sleeve, that one, the nice cut cross going right along, tight on the tape, it's pretty hard to defend.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. especially when he's got that great vision looking over and he saw Paul quite centered in the court and then just made a really nice play cross court.
That was actually the serve I was talking about. See, Marcelo served that ball right down the middle to Chris. It was hard for him to get that ball up to the net for Paul to jump set and possibly hit. And he's forcing him to serve, to play the outside. Here you go. And again.
You notice Chris McHugh there on the point before getting quite eager to hit that ball as sharp as possible. Getting called for a reach, actually, which you don't often see too much, especially from the attacker coming off the set. But he makes up for it. That next point, absolutely creaming the ball cross court high over the block. In years of past, this used to be a very senior sort of tournament, a lot of players playing in. What are your thoughts on the fact that nowadays there's a lot more junior and younger teams actually making their way and competing early in these sort of events?
I think that it's really exciting times at the moment. There was a bit of a gap, but I think that gap is being filled now with a lot of great potential, like guys like Mark Nicolaides, Isaac Kara, Lewis Jupp, of course, yourself, playing on the tour. It's exciting to see.
And that will bring up the end of the game. Brilliant start to this event. Chris McHugh and Paul Burnett proving just too much for Christopher Twine and Marcelo Haag.
You're watching the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour. This is the second round here in beautiful Mollymook. We'll be right back after these. Are we going to commercial break? Let's go to a commercial break. And we'll see you guys soon.